Hi, everyone. My name is Aivry Coleman, and I am a sophomore at UNC, majoring in biology and double minoring in marine science and GIS. This semester, I was the drones and forestry management internship with the Carolina Drone Lab, also known as Cardinal. Cardinal is a resource for the UNC community to use drones, sensors, and software for research. They also provide training for regulatory compliance, flight operations, and data processing, along with participating in collaborative research projects. This semester, my mentor was Troy Walton, who is the lab manager at Cardinal, but I was able to work closely with everyone on the Cardinal team. So what have I been doing this semester? I've been doing a lot of organization and consolidation of information. This included getting the pre-flight checklists for each Cardinal drone into one format and to make sure the terminology throughout those pre-flight checklists were consistent. I also reformatted the standard operating procedure and made sure there was consistent terminology throughout that as well. I worked with the maintenance guides provided from the manufacturers of the drones and sensors owned by Cardinal to make one master maintenance guide for Cardinal. And I used Excel to create a countdown of sorts for when different licensures expired within the organization. I was also able to help with drone maintenance. This right here is a picture of me cleaning the Alta X drone after it was flown through some smoke as part of a project with the EPA. And from what I hear, I'll be doing this again soon. And I also conducted literature reviews on various topics to see how drones have been used in research in the past and how drones can be used in research in the future. So these were my main three research topics for my literature reviews: coral, bats, and forest fuels. And here are my findings for each of those. So for my literature review on coral reefs, I focused mainly on the uses of drones in coral research and what sensors were used with those drones in that research. So I found that some main uses were mapping, species and health identification, and coral restoration. This last one is particularly important because coral restoration is a very expensive process. And they want to make sure that the areas they're focusing on for coral restoration are areas that are going to survive long term. And surveying coral manually takes a lot of time and a lot of money, so drones provide a very efficient way to do that. I also looked into the sensors that are sometimes used in this research. I found that multispectral sensors are typically used for general information and identification. Hyperspectral sensors are used for more detailed maps once they identify areas of interest. And then I came across this newer technology called fluid lensing, which actually uses ripples in the water's surface to magnify objects underwater when they are put into images. So for my literature review on bats, I focused on the interference of drones with bat behavior, and I looked into echolocation and different wavelengths of light that bats can see to try and think of some ways that some drones could be altered so that bats don't alter their behavior in the presence of drones. I also looked at research gaps in bat roosting and found that some major gaps are in call characteristics during roost reentry, roost patterns, and this includes things like what species roost in certain areas and what time different species roost, as well as roost counts. I came across a study that said that there is a particular species of bats in Europe, and scientists know how many bats roost. They know the populations, but they can't find enough roost for all the bats. So that's a big mystery and a big gap in that research. In my forest fuel literature review, I focused mainly on the methods that were used, in particular percent overlap, which is basically with each pass of a drone in a certain direction, what percentage of land is the same as in the last pass. I focused also on sensors, and in this particular research field, it's usually multispectral sensors and their desired measurements in previous studies, and they all kind of tended to focus on canopy cover, canopy height, and tree density. Some of my key takeaways from this experience were research skills, in particular literature review skills, and finding gaps in research that has already been conducted. I've also been able to prepare to take my FAA Part 107 test, which would allow me to have my commercial drone license, and I'm planning on taking that at some point later in the year. I gained experience flying drones through Free Fly Fridays that Cardinal hosts. If any of y'all are interested in flying drones, highly recommend you come to one of those. And this is a picture from a previous Free Fly Friday. And I also gained experience in managing multiple projects at the same time. A lot of my literature reviews were ongoing projects that kind of were interrupted by smaller, more specific projects, and I had to manage them all and make sure all the deadlines were met. Thanks to my mentors, thanks to EcoStudio for a great semester. And does anyone have any questions?